When women come together, beautiful things happen. But when women come together and collectively share their stories, empowering things happen. Lisa Pinnock and the ladies she's collaborated with are living proof of it. She supported dozens of women in becoming empowered to share their stories of triumph and hardship and perseverance and resilience. And not only did the women she support walk away stronger, they have walked away authors in one of two beautiful anthologies called Uncover Your Light. I just get cold chills thinking about it, to be honest, and knowing the impact that these women and these books are having. On International Women's Day, I couldn't imagine a better guest for the podcast than Lisa, especially since today is the release of her newest book, We Rise in Power. This anthology is amplifying women of color and inspiring all to use our voices for change. I was recently reminded that our words create worlds, and if we want a world that is better, we need to use our voices to make that happen. Join Lisa and I as we discuss the power of our voices during today's episode. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, I'm Stephanie Feger, and Empower is my middle name. Okay, well, not really, but it should be. I believe that empowered people empower people, and I'm obsessed with empowering you, the nonfiction author, with impactful marketing strategies and tactics to help you take your important message and share it with those who desperately need it, want it, and here's the kicker, will buy it. I'm the owner and chief strategist of the Empower PR Group and the author of 3 books myself, including my newest book, Make Your Author Impact. Sell more books, increase your reach, and achieve your why. I have been called to merge my love for reading books and writing books and marketing books to help nonfiction authors with laser-focused strategies and tactics to write books that sell, promote books to those who need and want them most, and build meaningful businesses from empowering messages. Please think of this podcast as your one-stop shop for marketing insights from an author who has been there, done that, and understands exactly where you are, because guess what? I have and I do. So get your pens ready because I'm ready to empower you. This is the Empowered Author Podcast. You know, there are some people that you just meet and you know that they are like in a parallel life as you and really trying to go out and do good in the world. And at least I felt that way when we met. And we've always talked about how our paths would continue to cross. And I'm just so honored to watch you grow. I mean, when I first met you, you hadn't published a book and now you're on number 3 and it's amazing. And I'm so excited for you. And I'm just also very excited to have you on the Empowered Author Podcast because what you do at your core is empowerment to help other women make an impact. It's just brilliant. So welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. I'm so honored that you asked me to be part of this show because you've mentioned this before that I am just a big fan of absorbing your content. And I do it in the funniest places, like walking my dog. And then I'll be like, wanting to stop and take notes because what you do for us authors is so empowering as well. And it's wonderful to have that resource in many different ways. So your podcast is one of the ways I consume that. So it's just like a complete treat to be part of it.
Oh, thank you. You are so kind. I had somebody tell me once, I come from a background of nonprofit work, and someone asked me if I volunteer or do anything like that anymore. And I'm like, I think I did 10 years of it. And I volunteer in different ways with my kids' school. And then they said, no, every time you do a podcast, that's volunteer work. And I'm like,
Yes.
yes, and I love that. I think that's what I love so much about it because how can we just give? And I think you're living proof of when you just give, great things continue to come. And that's the motto of how I run the Empower PR Group, but at the end of the day, that's just my life motto. Like just give. Things will
That's
work
your
its way
mantra.
out. It's my mantra.
Mhm.
Don't give
Mhm.
in, don't give up, don't give away, give value always. And so when you just give value, it comes back tenfold. And I had a moment the other day. I don't know if this is like the evolution of just me as a human, but I had this feeling where I don't really care if I get anything in return. And I don't mean
Mm.
that in a bad way, but I never really wanted something in return, but I was sitting there, it was at church actually. I was listening to the pastor talk and I thought, huh, maybe this is just an evolved learning or evolved growth when you just do it because it just is something you want to do for someone else. Anyways, um, I think that's what
It's
you're doing
beautiful.
too, and I just love how both of our impact stories have overlined. And so, I want to pause before we go too deep in, and I want you to share a little bit about you because you embrace the power of story, and you recently shared with me after we did some work with your first two books about this third book that you're doing, and how this third book what it's all about. And I think it really goes to the essence of the importance of our stories. So tell us a little bit about you, Lisa.
Oh, my pleasure. So, wow, the conversations we've had have been so fulsome because you have seen, even though we met recently, you've seen such
Mhm.
interesting parts of my journey as an author, and I'm now going on to launching my not third but fourth
Oh,
book.
that's right. You're fourth. Oh my God. You're going to
That's
beat
okay.
me. You're beating me. It's not a race, but kind of. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, let me tell you, it's kind of mind blowing. Being
Awesome.
in this space of doing collaborative
Hmm.
work with women. I started with my first book, Women Let's Rise, in 2020, and it
Hmm.
was when I was going through a really difficult time that involved a lot of personal upheaval. And by all intents and purposes, I should have said no to the idea of being part of a book. But I didn't. I leaned in and I knew that it would be something that would help me through that very difficult time. And it did. Writing became this
Hmm.
cathartic exercise that really propelled me forward in a time when I felt so very stuck. And I have to thank my friend Lola Small for that because she invited me to be part of her book. And now this fourth one, I'm kind of jumping all over, but number
That's
one
okay.
and number four, those two books are both with her vision. They're
Oh,
her
that's
babies.
amazing.
So the two in the middle are the ones that you got to help me with, and those were my concept. So really does feel like I gave birth to these twins right
I know,
here.
because they were at the same time. Like it wasn't, you didn't give yourself any space in between. They're beautiful.
No, no, they just both came one after the other, boom, boom. And I'm just so incredibly grateful for the container that was built, the community, and the essence of these books are how do you shine your light brightly when you've lost touch with who you are? And reconnecting with yourself is something that I know from experience. And I thought, gosh, if I've gone through this, albeit through, separation situation, other women have certainly experienced this disconnect. And how do we find our way back to
Mm,
our authentic selves when the way forward can seem very dark and muddled?
mm,
So, using that as the point of inquiry, that really attracted a lot of women to write their stories with
mm.
me. And lo and behold, volume one morphed into volume
Volume
two,
two.
and it was just like a train ride that I didn't want to end because the momentum was just building on its own. So it was a beautiful thing to witness.
Well, there's a lot I want to unpack of what you just said. First
Yeah.
of all, I love that you acknowledged how writing is cathartic and a catharsis. It's almost like it's a form of therapy. It has become that for
Yes.
me. And I had an author early in my author career share with me. I know something's not right with you, Stephanie, when you're not writing. And I said, "What do you mean?" He's
Mm,
like, "When you're not writing and you're not sharing, I know that you're dealing with something and I need to reach out and check on you." And I thought,
yes.
"Man, you know too much about me." Like, "Ooh, I'm sharing too much."
Yeah.
No, but it was a testament to the fact that I think once the writing bug bit me, it became a way for me to process stuff I didn't know I was carrying, and
Yes.
hard stuff and beautiful stuff, big stuff and little things, like everything in between. And it just became that. And so I find for many women, I mean, men too, but definitely in the women's space, I think I think it's a calling for many of us. And it doesn't mean you have to be a great writer. I'm not saying anybody that's listening today, even if you don't want to publish a book, journal. I can't journal, by the way. I don't want to write. I have to type it. But just get
Mhm.
it out, because for me, and I'm curious on your end, when I get it out, I feel lighter. I don't feel like I'm carrying it anymore.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say for sure that in every point of my life that I look back on, when there have been really difficult moments, the way through, although I didn't really quantify it at the time, but retrospect,
Yeah. Oh,
introspection
yes.
and hindsight are 2020. Um, I just see that there's a pattern of being able to take what is spinning and swirling up here and just put it all on the page
Mm,
or on a laptop recently, but back in
yeah.
earlier days, it would just be in a journal.
Yeah.
And that I find allows you to really have a way forward to kind of sift through all
Mhm.
of the things that seem so overwhelming when they're stuck swirling around in the monkey mind, as we call it.
Mm,
And it's been an incredible journey to help other people to see that they have that ability too. It is a learned
yeah.
skill. It's not something that
Agreed.
is just gifted to certain people.
Yeah.
It really is for all,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
accessible to all. But just having someone to guide you and to be your cheerleader is sometimes all you need. And that's what I felt
Yeah.
I was for these amazing 39 women that I got to work with over the last 18 months. I just, I'm not an editor by trade. I certainly did a ton of editing for these books, but that's not my area of expertise. I just felt that I was able to really hone in on what their best, most impactful
Mm,
messages were and help them to hone those into
mm.
their story so that they felt really, really aligned and really proud of what was on the page.
That's amazing. And I think it's a testament to, we all have a unique story. We all have unique background. We've all experienced something. Nobody's is worse or better than the others. We've all
Mm,
had something
true.
that shaped us. And the thread of it is this beautiful connection of acknowledging that we have something in our past or in our present that is hard, but we can get through it. And I like how you said through. It's not, we think we can try to go around or under or over or just ignore it altogether. But the only way,
Circumvent.
right? Like, it's not possible. The only way to get to the other side is through. I was homeschooling my kids a couple of years ago, and we were doing a science session on life science. Specifically, we started with plants, and we were talking about roots. And who knew? I mean, we spent like 6 months talking about plants. I loved it. The kids were bored with it, but that's a story for another day. But we landed, when we were talking about roots, I was fascinated. And I, of course, the inspirational, motivational side of me popped in when I was like, we're not just talking about roots, kids, we're talking about our own roots. And they're like, Mom.
Mm,
But I realized the way that a tree trunk gets stability is from its roots. And if you chop any
that's
part
true.
of that root off, you are not nearly as stable. And when we look at our own lives and we look at our own trajectory and our challenges, sometimes I think that the challenges we go through, they become a part of our root system to make us stronger to withstand the next storm or the next challenge. It gives us a better footing, and it also helps us know when we do see something good, we understand that, right? Like, until my parents got divorced when I was 15, my life was pretty cookie cutter and easy. And until then,
Mm,
I didn't understand what challenge was. So and it was a fine divorce. It wasn't even a bad one, but I'm tell my
mm,
parents regularly how thankful I am for that, because not only are we better on the other side as a family, but I'm better because going through hardship makes me a better person. It sharpens the blade. It
mm,
helps me see and understand people in ways I couldn't have otherwise. So I'm grateful for the challenges, even not in the moment, Lisa, not in the moment, but on the other
sure.
side.
Yeah.
And
On
how
the other
beautiful
side.
that you have, through the two books that you did that we got to work together on a bit, that you empowered 30 some odd women to come together for for this common cause about talking about something that is hard and finding themselves through it. And that's what I think. Story is a connector. It's not a divider, it's a connector.
Oh, 100%. I love what you described there, Stephanie, about the root system and how foundational it is. And it brought to mind something else that I was pondering as, you know, through my experience with helping these women, I found that one common thread was the level of belief,
Mm,
believing in your the fact that your story matters, first
mhm.
of all, and that you do have the ability to bring it forth in your own special, unique, authentic
Mhm.
way. You know, so many of the authors I worked with were first timers, like right out of the gate, had never written anything for publication before. And at first, I found that daunting, but then I realized, no, that was me. I mean, I was them just
We were
just
all
2 years
there.
prior.
Mhm.
We're all there. We were all first time
Yes.
authors at one time,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And being able to just instill and nurture that belief in themselves, because really I didn't have it myself until my friend Lola saw it in me and then pulled it out. Well, I was just paying it forward, really, and doing the same thing. And wow, when you see the fruits of that type of labor, it is something very special because they have
Mhm.
really connected with their own author voice and their identity in the
Yep.
process.
And you've empowered them in ways you'll never know because of that. And in so many ways.
Yeah.
This new book that's coming out, you shared with me. I didn't even know this about you. So talking about the power of story and belief or what have you, you gave me a little glimpse of what you're sharing in this new book about story and your
Mhm.
story. And I would be honored if you would give a little glimpse to listeners.
Oh, I'd love to because you know what's super exciting. I'm so pumped about this launch because it's happening on International Women's Day. And how aligned is that? So on March 8th, you can, yeah, apparently it's hit some bookstores in the States already because some of my co-authors have posted that friends have the books in their hands. And,
Oh my
you know, I'm not
gosh.
sure whereabouts, but it's just a matter of
That's
time before
awesome.
it's everywhere.
Absolutely.
This book called, I love that just actually being able to hold it,
Mm.
right? Like, isn't that the best?
It is. It feels
But
you can smell it. It's not just holding it. I have to smell it
yes,
too.
you have to smell. Oh, yeah. Oh, my
Smell it.
gosh. Totally. This book is certainly a labor of love. It was um, one that came about at the tail end of when I was launching my own series that you know got to work with those authors and I was kind of feeling a sense of overwhelm and oh gosh, am I going to be able to get this done on time? Well, there was just no question once I sat down to write
Yeah.
this story
Yeah.
that it didn't just come, it poured out of
Mm.
me. And the reason why is I think because it's so personal. I share in the title, by the way, is We Rise in Power, Amplifying Women of Color and Our
Mhm.
Voices for Change. And the authors come from across Canada and the US and really all from all different walks of life and experience and backgrounds. Some are in tech, some are in marketing, some are, you know,
Wow.
educators like me. But my story is about my immigrant journey from moving from the time, you know, island of Jamaica, where life was quite different, to Canada in the middle of winter and not really understanding in my 7-year-old brain what that meant. You know, I for a long time thought we were just visiting my aunt and we'd be going back
Oh,
soon.
little did you
And
know.
lo and behold, I know. And then when my parents bought me a snowsuit, I'm like, oh, maybe we're staying longer. But that whole experience and the things that I've been able to reflect on since have shaped me in ways I didn't really acknowledge or understand until I've seen how my path has unfolded. And
Mm.
having that ability, that grace to see those points of connection,
Yeah.
it really was. I remember when I completed the chapter, Stephanie, I was just bawling. And it wasn't a sad thing. It was like
Mhm.
wow, you've done it. You've really
Mm.
peeled back a lot of layers. And this is a really powerful thing to do for yourself and then for those that will read it afterwards, I hope.
I have coat chills just hearing it, because it's true. It is. You, I feel like you might feel differently, but I feel like if you've experienced something and you've worked through it, if you don't share it, I'm not saying you have to do it in a book. You can do it in other ways, but if you
Yeah.
don't share it, you're being selfish.
Mm,
Hate being so harsh,
yeah.
but you're being
Mm,
selfish because you could have gone through that in a way to help somebody look at something through a different lens. And hindsight, does bring with it insights that you didn't know you needed. And you might have enjoyed somebody sharing that at the crossroads that they're in. When women come together, I mean, I just believe pretty amazing and special things happen. And, in all the books that you've been a part of, seeing them come together and share their stories of impact in just such a meaningful way is so darn empowering and inspiring, and not just the feel good kind, it's the action kind, right?
right.
It's the kind that makes everybody better in the process. It's the kind that is proof that I don't think we were meant to do life alone. We were meant to be in community. We're not meant to be in silos. We're meant to support one another and overlap and
Oh,
layer, like all of that. And I think what you are doing and how you sharing your message and inspiring women along the way is just absolutely something amazing.
oh,
Something amazing.
thank you, my dear.
You're
Thank you.
so welcome.
That
So
means
we
a
had
lot.
the pleasure of working together, talking about collaborations, and
Yes.
I had a ball. We did something that I think was really cool, and I've never we were the first ones that we did it in this way. So I think it's cool to share this with others because I'm down for this approach. It was way fun, but you had 39 ladies that you said,
Yes.
Stephanie, how can you help us market our book? Because
Mhm.
collectively,
Mhm.
talk about collective unity. Collectively, the book will succeed when everybody does, right? And
That's
so
right.
we had a strategy session, a 1 hour strategy session, and all the ladies pitched
Mhm.
in. And,
Yes.
we had an amazing group of women come together who asked great questions, who were so positive, let me like just throw out 1,000 ideas. And I'm just really
Yes.
grateful for it, Lisa. It was so much fun.
Oh, we are eternally grateful as well. And when I had met you initially, Stephanie, back, when you did that workshop that I attended, and I heard you speak for the first time, from then I had this real tug that you are going to at some point, I didn't know when, and it wasn't until, several months later, but I just knew that what you had to share and your expertise would be so beneficial for this group.
Mm,
And really, even for the seasoned author, you have so much to share. But in our case, as I mentioned earlier, so many of the authors I had the privilege of working alongside were first timers. And so it would stand to reason that when it came to marketing a book, they were also brand new at that, right? And
sure.
they got through the writing part, like yay! That's exciting that we got through all of the concepts, the ideas, the writing, and the publishing. But now you've got this thing in your hand, and you're like, what do I do with it?
What do I do?
And this
Well,
is
now you
where
know.
you, yeah, you excel at really teasing out those not only many ideas came from that session, but also I find that the delivery of it, the way that
Mhm.
you really break things down into actionable pieces, it helps so much for those who find the whole process of, say, social media or, where
Mhm.
all the various places
Right.
that authors are expected to show up,
Sure.
that it can be such a sense of overwhelm. And one of the comments that kept coming back over and over after that session was, wow, Stephanie made it so much easier to understand. So
Yay.
thank you.
That's
Yes,
such
a win-win.
right. Well, because to me, if marketing is overwhelming, you won't do it. not you, but
That's it.
collective you won't do it. And so I think marketers, or just beyond that, I think people who are experts in their field like to complicate things. The pastor I was telling you about earlier, he had made a comment at church. If you do some research in brain science, as people, we think that the more complicated something is, the better it is. It's
It is.
crazy, but it's not. The simpler you are is sometimes the better. And so I have found in my industry that marketing can be extremely complicated, but it doesn't have to
Mm.
be. And I sometimes feel like people like to complicate things because it makes them feel better. Well, what makes me feel better is when I see people able to share their story and message in an effortless way, and I see them win. Yeah, I had a client once tell me, "Well, Stephanie, I finally figured out your MO. It's when I win, you win." And I'm like, "That's true. Yeah, when the
Mm.
authors I help win, that's where winning comes, and it's collective winning. It's not I don't want to win alone. I want them to
Right.
win." And so thank you for that. It was such a joy and an honor to do that with your ladies. They were wonderful, and it was a highlight of my
They
evening.
are.
Absolutely. And thank you for embracing all that emPact is about, right? Like you're personally doing it, and you have created beautiful opportunities for people to be able to continue and share their story, and you support them in a nurturing way. I think it's beautiful, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much for that affirmation because we're gearing up now that the launch has happened, right? You know what this is like.
Mhm,
And it's like,
mhm.
okay, all that buzz that was created
Yeah.
around the books, it's like, well, the books still exist. Like they are
Yeah.
part of permanent
Yes.
history. And so now
Right.
we're thinking of ways with spring coming, here in very cold Canada. How can we get out there and promote the books once again and get that
Mhm.
ball rolling? And there are always opportunities, as you know, to market yourself and to market your book and to market your own offerings and use your book as a tool for that. So I'm excited to
Yes.
see what will come in the next couple months.
Me too. Well, and little tidbit you can share back to the ladies. Just
Yes.
like a book, I believe books don't have a shelf life. We can breathe life into them.
Mm.
I think our stories are the same way. And so for those people out there who are listening, going, well, I don't know, will anybody be impacted with my story? Or, well, I told it, 5 years ago, or the book came out, whatever. Listen. Nothing, people and books are not meant to be put in, a can with a lot of preservatives and like left. No, it's not. Like it's not going to go
Mm.
bad. These are things we can breathe life into all the time, and we should, because I think books are a testament to the living, breathing life and stories that we have, and it is a conduit for us to be able to meet people where they might meet us most. So I think continue to do that and look for creative ways. Of course, you know where to find
Yeah.
me if you have any questions or insights. I'm sure
Oh,
that I'll have
100%.
things pop up. But thank you for taking time out of your day to talk to me about all this today, and just for doing such good in the world. I'm so grateful to know you
Oh,
and to been able to collaborate with you.
likewise, 100%. You are a gem. And again, thanks for inviting me to be part of the podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Recently, I was in the car with my kids talking about my grandma, someone who was crazy special to me. My daughter was asking about her and her life, and it opened up Pandora's box of questions and stories, which I always love. Before I knew it, I was telling my children about the life my grandma lived. A beautiful one, but one that was very different from the one I get to live, and they get to live too. I began sharing with my family, but especially my daughter, about how grateful I am that today my voice matters and my daughter's matters too. She looked at me perplexed, questioning why it ever wouldn't matter, which is a testament to how I've raised that little squirt. And I was reminded that when we change today, we also change our future. The women before us who leveraged their voices for change have created a world for generations to come that is different and that is beautiful. That is why stories matter. That is why our voices matter. That is why we matter. And collectively, when everyone is moving forward one step at a time to make the world a bit better than we found it the day before, impact is made. What a joy it was to talk to Lisa this International Women's Day, and what a joy it was to support her and other women that she has been supporting as well. If you, your group, or organization are looking for some marketing insights, I would be honored to empower you to use your voice to make change too. Let's chat. Visit empowerprgroup.com/connect to make that happen. Author friend, thank you for listening today and for saying yes to sharing your story and using your voice. I know it's not easy, but it is empowering. It's empowering to me, and I know it is to others as well. As you know, I'm a believer that empowered people empower people. Lisa and I had a chance to empower you today. Now it's your turn. Go empower others.